What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Scoop and Score Football Show, episode 27. Spencer Contavious Caldwell Pope Gallup, how are you, sir?
I'm good. I'm doing good. This weather needs to make up its damn mind, but other than that, I'm doing good.
Noah's Ark is needed the way it's like outside. The rain, it's insane, bro. My car is down the road because it floated away earlier this morning. Actually, I need to go run and get it if I can, or
Hey,
swim. Really,
like what?
I
What's
don't,
going on?
I
It
don't
hailed last
understand.
week.
Speaking of the weather, good buddy of the show here, Alex Shear, former friend of former host of the Max Sports Connection podcast. He used to work at Heidelberg University down in Tiffin, Ohio. Their football stadium currently is completely underwater right now.
Oh,
Completely underwater, which is kind of insane. The problem is the time this episode's coming out is tomorrow. We're recording Thursday, comes out Friday. The rain ain't stopping until Monday. We're in it for the long haul. Sorry to talk
well,
about the rain and
hopefully,
weather.
I couldn't even tell you the name of the stadium. There is gonna do okay. It's gonna be okay.
We'll see if their arch nemesis one at Frost Calno Stadium and the Tiffin Dragons is going to be underwater too. We don't know, but we will report back here if it does. But before we get into today's content, make sure you guys subscribe here to the YouTube channel. Make sure you hit that push notification bell to stay up to date on all of our new videos. You can listen to us as well and watch on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or wherever else you may get your podcasts. Make sure you follow us on our social media platforms as well at Ball N Beatz Media, Instagram, TikTok, X, everywhere. Book it. Do it. Because you know why? When you do that, the rain will stop. The rain will stop and it will be a more beautiful sunny day. Spencer, it is the pinnacle of draft season right now. We are in the smoke show days, the dog days of April, as some would say, where you have some outlandish stuff being spread around there just because, teams want some guys possibly the fall or whatnot. And there's some stuff here we got to talk about, okay? Because I want I want you to buy or
Okay.
sell some of these smoke shows that I've been hearing right now, okay? A lot of smoke screen out there. I'm gonna start here. Buy or sell. Jeremiah Love will not be a top 5 pick.
Um, I'm gonna buy that because I think that the teams in the top five have other needs than running back. You talk about obviously Mendoza's going number one. The Jets aren't gonna take him. I really don't think that the Cardinals, with all the other needs that they have, are gonna take a running back at that spot because I mean they need a whole revamp on defense. They need pieces on the offense. They just got rid of Kyler Murray, but I mean they're gonna basically be taking a gap year at this point. So to try to get to
Gap year,
the
or they
top of the
take the
draft,
quarterback maybe in their first pick in the second round too, potentially. Or maybe a trade
yeah,
back into the first round. Doesn't feel
yeah,
like pick number 3 that's going to happen though.
no, it doesn't. Tennessee, I Tennessee is the one where I feel like it could happen, but they have Tony Pollard still, and I feel like Pollard still has something he can give. Um, and I also think that they should give him a weapon. I think Jeremiah Love running back, you can make it a weapon. He's not like a really pass catching running back. He's not like a Jameer Gibbs or type that player. I would take Cornell Tate there if he's available. If I was the Titans, and then the Giants. No, I while because Cam Scadaboo, and I really don't think that the Giants really need to take a running back at this position. I think that they need to go get a safety. I think that they need to go get some pieces on defense, and I think that they have much other needs than running back. So I'll say Jeremiah Love goes outside the top five. If I had to pick one, probably Washington
It
at
feels like he
7.
wouldn't make it past Washington at 7 if he's there.
No, and if he doesn't miraculously get taken by Washington, then I have no idea. Maybe he falls out of the first round.
Not even happening. He ain't falling. I will say this: Jeremiah Love is going to be picked inside the top 10. I don't think he makes it to pick number
Yes.
10. Now where is it? I don't know. And the thing is, Tennessee would be the one team. I agree with you there because I actually have another point I want to talk about the Giants. We'll circle back to them. But with Tennessee, you had Tony Pollard who just ran over 1,000 yards last season. and you still have Tajay Spears there. It does feel like if it's not an offensive weapon, they might just go another edge rusher. They did just trade for Jermaine Johnson II from the Jets, but
Yeah.
they could go edge rusher. What if, we're overselling a lot of people out there kind of pushing recently right now. I've seen a guy like David Bailey slip down the draft board a little bit more, which I think you and I kind of agree where we think he's good, but maybe he's not as good as projected.
Yeah.
Where with Ruben Bain, I've seen him kind of jump a little bit back up on certain people's draft board, but I've still also seen he could go as low as like pick number 12 to Dallas. I think the Titans could still go edge rusher there at 4. I think we could have 3 edge rushers in a row because I think Arizona could go edge rusher, even though they could still go offensive lineman. Depending on how the board falls, I think 2, 3, 4 could all be edge rushers. And then at pick 5, we're kind of like, okay, we could see a lot here with the Giants. And I want to
Yeah.
circle back here to the Giants right now because I've been seeing this a lot recently. Buy or sell, the New York Giants take an offensive lineman at pick number 5.
I don't see why not. If Maui Noah's there, um, obviously you have Andrew Thomas, but Evan Neal was a joke of a tackle and really flopped, and they kind of need some help on the O line. You help out. You reinvest in Jackson Dart and in Cam Scadaboo. Cam Scadaboo is going to be out of the league in 3 years, so you might as well use him while you can because the dude is just a psycho. He's just gonna headbutt everywhere he goes, and he's gonna get brain damage by by the end of his junior year in the NFL. Um, but I would reinvest in your offense. You can do both. I feel like the Giants need to get help on defense, and I do think that they need to get a few pieces on that offense. Um, Obviously, I think it was helping out, getting him some receivers, getting him some weapons, and Jackson Dart. But the offensive line is the most important part for a young quarterback. And that's why you've seen, the Raiders went out and signing Tyler Linderbaum because they're going to take Fernando Mendoza. With this aspect for the Giants, yeah, I don't see why not. I mean, dude, in the top 5, you can legitimately take a bunch of different players. They'll all be good.
Right.
All these teams have so many needs. They have needs that they have at different levels of their defense and their offense. Now there's some that they don't. Like obviously the Giants aren't going to be,
Getting a
taking
defensive lineman.
a or a defensive lineman or anything like that. But these teams were bad last year. They have needs. They have a lot of needs, and these players that they get in the top 5 or the top 10, wherever they are going to fill those needs. And then fill them out in the second round and in the third round. So even if they don't take a tackle in the first round, or even if they don't take a defensive player in the first round, they're definitely going to in the second and the third round, and so on. So, I'd buy it. Maui Noah to me would be great for them. You'd have Andrew Thomas on the left. You'd have Maui Noah on the right. That'd be a really good young tackle core. And with Jackson Dart being in his rookie deal, and it's only his second year, and he showed some promise last year. Sure, why not?
Yeah. And the thing is here with the Giants too, they did just re-sign Jermaine Illuminor, who's really their starting right tackle. I think he got like a 2 or 3 year extension with them this offseason. So if you draft a guy like Maui Noah, maybe you kick him inside the guard, or you move Illuminor in the guard and put Maui Noah at right tackle. I do think if they do draft offensive line, it would be either Francis Maui Noah or I'm going to throw out this name who I believe should go earlier, but I know he won't simply because of position. Maybe the Giants trade back if they really go offensive line. Maybe they trade back from pick number 5 and maybe circle the Penn State guard, Oliva Venga Yawani. I think that
Yeah,
could be a sneaky one right there because they need a guard more than anything. They kind of have the tackle spot at least set for right now. Illuminor is old and he's on the back end of his career, though. But I feel like Yawani could be a sneaky one there for the Giants. If they wanted to get a guard and trade back, I think it would make
yeah,
sense.
that's true.
Now, this is the one right here. This is the one, Spence. Buy or sell. Caden Proctor will be one of the first offensive linemen off the board.
No, no, no. So, no, nope. I'm not living in a role because I've watched this guy and he just sucks. Every time I see him, he's got no athleticism. He gets beat a lot. The only reason that he's this high is because he's just a massive dude.
He was a 5-star prospect coming out of high school, out of
He went to
Iowa.
Alabama.
Went to Alabama, started for 3 years. He
Yeah.
has the experience. I think that's the aspect that a lot of people like, is that he was out there all the time. But you're right. And in fact, next week we'll discuss probably a little bit more of my top 100 board. I'll have that drop next week. I know you've seen it. It's now set. Caden Proctor is not a top 50 prospect in this class. He is not. There's a lot more offensive linemen that I prefer over Caden Proctor in this draft class, because not just the fact that he's a big man, he is strong. He's very powerful. The problem is he's got what he clicks his heels together. You notice that when he on his
Just
tape,
doesn't.
his feet touch together, which gets him off balance.
He
He
doesn't
gets
have
off
good
balance.
technique. He doesn't.
His,
And every time I've seen him play, when I watched Alabama games last year, he get beat, or he would look like he's struggling against players that aren't in the draft, players that aren't going to be getting drafted in the top 100 or anything like that. He would get beat. He's a big dude. He's like 360, 7, 8 or something like that. He's massive.
He's 6'7", 320, 325 roughly.
325. Okay. He's a massive dude, but he just, every time I've seen him, if he gets against an edge that has more bend, and if he gets against an edge that is quick, it's over. Because he can't catch up. He can't get back.
Right.
He can't
Well,
back
the thing
up.
about him too is he always gets beat inside too. If a guy cuts inside, he's not fast enough or quick enough
So if
to
he
get in
can't
front of him.
so if he gets beat outside and he gets beat inside, what's the point? Why would we draft this guy? He was a 5-star guy. He went to he committed to Iowa, and then because he's from Iowa, and then decided with Alabama.
And then hit the transfer portal, went to Iowa for a week, went back to Alabama. There is stuff there. You gotta
has
give him
potential
patience.
if he fixes everything.
Yes, no, I agree. If he fixes everything,
that's
yes.
the problem. I shouldn't have to fix everything. I should only have to tweak things when you go to the league. And if you said one of the first offensive linemen off the board. There's a lot of really good offensive linemen in this class, and I'm taking over him. So
there's probably, if I'd have
there's
to
more
look
than 5.
at,
I
I'd
can
have
tell you
to
that.
look at my top 100 to know exactly what offensive lineman number I have him. I think I have 10 or 11 offensive linemen ahead of him, if I'm not mistaken. I would have to look at my top 100 board again. But
he's gonna be an all-pro.
I think he could be an all-pro. He could
he's
be an all-pro.
We're gonna talk about this, and then he's gonna have an all-pro rookie season.
Well, see, that's
and you know what the funniest thing is? He's gonna be a Lion. Him or Monroe Freeling are gonna be Lions, and I'm gonna be pissed off. If they're going with tackle, it's gonna be one of those two, and it's gonna piss me off. So.
Here's a guy I want to talk about, though, since you're talking about it. A guy that would make a lot more sense for specifically what you're doing, and this was a big talking point for me this week, because Dan Campbell did come out and say they're really open to moving Penei Sewell to left tackle, which I think a lot of people think.
Yeah.
So if you're going right tackle, okay, there's one right tackle in particular that I'm really thinking about that would probably be available at pick 17, and that's the Clemson right tackle and Blake Miller. If you're going right tackle, Blake Miller to me makes the most sense. He's a better tackle than Monroe Freeling right now. His pass protection is much better. Yeah, he plays a little bit high. That's the one knock really on him. He does play a little bit high, but you can work with that. He's a much better pass protector than Monroe Freeling is. And he still has a little bit of wiggle room, but I love watching him in run blocking too. I think he's a very good run blocker, which you're going to need in Detroit.
He was the bright spot on Clemson's offensive line. He was very, very good in pass protect, like you said, and he goes high sometimes, but you can adjust that. As long as I can only tweak a few things, as long as you know what to do, and all I have to do is tweak a few things to get you adjusted to the league, that's perfectly fine. With Blake Miller, I think that'd be fine. I'd be happy with it. Listen, at the end of the day, I want them to take a guy on the edge. I want them to take an edge rusher, or I want them to take a tackle. Or a guard. But at the same time, with Tate Ratledge and Christian Mahogany, you don't really need a guard. You need to fill that right tackle spot that Penei is going to be leaving when he moves to left tackle. And with them, signing Cade Mays at center, really the only position they need right now on the line is right tackle, and then you're set. But they didn't address that in free agency. I don't care about Larry. I do not want Larry Borom on my offensive line. This is not my starter. No.
You got
Just
Juice
draft
Scruggs at
me a
center, baby.
tackle.
Juice Scruggs
No,
at center.
that dude was never gonna start. The fact that you actually thought
Gary
that for a
Mays.
second was ridiculous.
He might be a starting guard. You never know.
No, he's not. No. The fact that you thought that when he was a throw-in was hilarious.
Hey, man, you never know.
He's one of the worst rated offensive linemen in the league last year. No.
That happens, dog. That happens. I want to talk Cleveland here because when I look at Cleveland at number 6, the issue that I
Diego
have,
Pavia. There you go.
the issue that I have with Cleveland, right? It's not really an issue. It's just more so their philosophy. They are the most analytically driven organization in the NFL. It's not close, right? And when you're looking at analytics and the way that they would draft, Carnell Tate is not a analytical kind of guy, like stat wise.
Tate won't get to them at 6.
He might not get to them at 6, depending on what happens. Maybe Carnell Tate's the pick at 5 or even 4 for Tennessee. So it's like, where does Cleveland really go here at 6? If that happens, I think they should take Tate at 6 if he's there. But maybe they still go. Do they go wide receiver at 6 even if Tate's off the board? Do we see 2 wide receivers taken in the top 6? If they take a wide receiver, if Tate's gone, I mean, I would think that they would actually go Jordan Tyson. Personally, I think that
Probably.
Jordan Tyson. I know the injury concerns are there and it's real. Jordan Tyson's just that dude, though. When he's on the football field,
I like Tyson more than Mekhi Lemon anyway, so I wouldn't be shocked by it. I think Jordan Tyson will be like at least a top 12 pick. I don't think he makes it outside by 12, but I think he'll be a top 12 pick, 100%.
He could be a top 12 pick, maybe top 15, top 16. I think 16 is probably his floor, if I had to guess. I could see teams possibly trade up from there if he keeps.
Because I wouldn't be surprised if like Kansas City took him at 9, or if you had, a team that just needs another offensive weapon, New Orleans alongside of Chris Olave.
I think Kansas City would probably go corner or corner, edge, or offensive lineman if they're there, because they need a right tackle as well.
Your Mob McCoy,
Mansour Delane probably.
If he's there, yeah.
See, that's the thing. I think we're in that season right now where everyone's kind of like, okay, where are these guys really going to go? And we're at that point where there's just you don't really know. You have no idea. And that's the beauty of the draft. There's no clue at all, and it's all really a guessing game, because once you see the draft fall, you're like, okay, how is this guy still available at this point? And I want to pivot that conversation right now. Who is a player who a lot of people think is a top 10 pick that when we come to draft night and he falls down the board and everyone's like, what's happening? Who's going to be that guy? Who is that player who is just still at the board at like pick 12, pick 13 that no one thought would be there? If you had to guess right now.
See, for me, I don't know what it is. I'm not a big David Bailey guy. I don't know if it's just the way, if it's just the haunting of Tyree Wilson in the past of Texas Tech. It's like, oh, all this upside and he's going to be so good. I'm not high on him. And I don't know if he'll fall because of the edge rushers that are needed in the top 5. But I wouldn't be shocked if he fell a little bit. The problem is, I think that the top 10 in this draft is pretty set. I like the players that are there. I don't know. It's tough to say. I don't, because if you think about it, like Mendoza, I wouldn't. Okay, here's one. I don't, and even as a Buckeye fan, I don't think Arvell Reese should be as high as he is. I think that he really showed that he came back down to earth after the midseason. And while he's still probably going to be, I mean, hell, he might still be a top 5 pick. I personally wouldn't. I would put him more towards the back half of the top 10, 8, 9, 10. Cincinnati would be a perfect one for him. But that's just my opinion. I'm not high on Arvell. I'm not as high on Arvell Reese as I am as some of these other prospects. The problem is that when you get to this season, you don't know anything about what teams are thinking about these prospects. Like, this guy's going to go in the top 5. He ends up going to 15. This
Right.
guy is going to be, pick 20. He ends up going at like 8. Like,
Exactly.
nobody knows.
I remember one
And
year, right? I remember this was actually, I think, last season. Even though our mock draft, we still had Kelvin Banks Jr. going like 13th or 14th overall. Nobody saw him being a top 10 pick
no,
to the Saints, and he honestly turned out to be one of the better picks in the top 10. The way he played last season, and is a big reason why the Saints offense took a next step, even with Tyler Shuck. So, there's always that guy, like the Cleveland Farrells of the world. You know what I mean? Like, no
I'll
one
give
saw
you
Cleveland Farrell at 4 overall to the Raiders. He was supposed to be like 21st or 22nd overall.
I'll give you the opposite, because there's a guy that I'm high on that I think is really going to jump up this draft, and he's a projected first round pick, but I really think he could go top 10. Is Dylan Thieneman from Oregon? I think he is going to be him and Caleb Downs. I will take Caleb Downs over him, but that knee issue still is something. Dylan Thieneman was phenomenal at Oregon last year,
And
and
honestly,
I think
I'll say
I
this real quick to cut you off. I'm sorry. His Purdue tape was even better than Oregon's tape, and he was
mm-hmm.
still phenomenal at Oregon.
Yeah. No, he's a guy. I love his versatility. I love how quick he is. He's like a heat-seeking missile. Him and Caleb Downs are a lot more similar than people need to realize. It just was, it's Caleb Downs. It's Caleb Downs. Dylan Thieneman's right there. He's right there with how good he was with Oregon last year. And I would not be shocked if he went at like 10 to Cincinnati, because Cincinnati needs some help in that secondary. Or
11 to Miami, even 12 to Dallas. Dallas
yeah,
needs a bunch of
something like
everything on
that.
defense.
Yeah.
I fully agree with that. I think Thieneman is probably going to be a top 12 pick when it is all said and done. I know a lot of people are kind of filling him into Minnesota, and that's kind of the team. I think he goes before them. And honestly, if I think he could go to Tampa Bay at 15 even. I think Minnesota would need to trade up for a guy like Thieneman, or they have to just go corner and not even safety at pick 18. They could also even go edge rusher with Minnesota, because who knows if Jonathan Grenard is there. Their whole defensive line has been kind of torn to shreds because of their cap situation up there in Minneapolis. So it'll be intriguing to see what happens with Minnesota. But I fully agree with you about Dylan Thieneman going much higher than he's been mocked. I think he is the guy to circle, who is, I mean, no one saw Colston Loveland going before Tyler Warren last year in the top 10, and
No,
he
no.
did.
I'll
We
I'll
didn't
give
have
you
Loveland in our first round mock, so
no, we didn't. And it turned out Loveland was very good last year.
yeah.
Loveland had a really solid rookie season. I'll give you one, since I feel like since we are Toledo guys, we have to talk about Emmanuel McNeil Warren. Is he a first round pick this year?
Yes, he absolutely
Well,
is.
you fully believe he's a first round pick? Okay.
He absolutely is going in the first round, just because I think Downs and Thieneman might get taken a little bit earlier, specifically Thieneman, which would leave McNeil Warren
Thieneman
still
will
on
be,
the
yeah,
board.
because like after the season ended, I feel like Thieneman was like a late first rounder, like
He was a
like
late
mid
first, early
to,
two.
yeah, and he has soared. And I like I said, I think I completely agree. I think he'll be a top 12 pick this year, because you have Miami, who just needs legitimately everything now.
They could go
And I
offensive
feel like he
line,
could
wide
be that
receiver,
Minka
all of it.
Fitzpatrick. He could fill that role.
Yeah.
Um, but no, I do think Emmanuel McNeil Warren. I mainly want it to happen just because it would be really cool to see another Toledo player taken the first round. But I also think it will happen, because I think with the back half of the first round, you could easily see. And I will say this: I will not be shocked if the whole thing with the Lions, with Kirby Joseph and Brian Branch, they're not going to have him to start the season. We don't even know if Kirby Joseph is going to play football again. I would not be shocked if the Lions made a move to trade back up into the first round and take E-Man, because the Lions, by some of the beat writers I've seen, love him. Absolutely love Emmanuel McNeil Warren, and have been linked to talking with him, amongst other things.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be shocked. Now, we have to see with Kirby Joseph, what's going on with him, if he can even play next year.
Right.
Because if he's healthy and Branch's coming back, you have two all-pro safeties. You don't need to draft another one. But I wouldn't be shocked if you had, even if it wasn't the Lions, a team to come back into the first round, maybe if they're like the early seconds, and try to go get him. Because safety,
Depends
you
on
know,
where it
while
is.
it's not like
Yeah.
big positional value because, safety is one of the easiest positions in defense, you need a good safety in order to have a good defense because you need a guy to read the defense.
Right.
And E-Man, we saw that firsthand.
He's one of the best in the
One of the
country at
best.
reading defense.
Yes.
The three teams that stand out to me for him, it's pretty ironic for one of them because his teammates there, Philadelphia, they need a safety. At pick number 23, if he's still on the board, I think Philadelphia could take him. One of your arch rivals in the Chicago Bears could go safety.
No, God, no. Please,
Not
God.
Minnesota, even though Minnesota could take him at 18.
Dog, I
even.
can't. No.
But
I had
Chicago needs a
Quinion go
safety.
to Philly, so I.
I'm serious. Chicago could go McNeil Warren. I like the fit there. I know that they need edge rusher too and defensive tackle, but I think they
They
also
need
could
safety
utilize a
because they
safety to
lost
replace Byard.
Byard.
They did
Yeah,
get Kobe Bryant from Seattle, but they still need another guy.
he's all right. But
He's not better than Kevin Byard. They need a
no.
true safety, and I think they could go him. And again, another team, Buffalo. Buffalo needs a safety at pick 26. They could go wide receiver there. They could go edge there as well. But those are three teams that I really like for him. Philadelphia, Chicago, Buffalo, I think is more his range because I think, depending on how the board falls, I think the Vikings go corner.
Yeah.
Like a Jermod McCoy, a Colton Hood. I don't see any more. I no longer see
McCoy had a
Avion.
really good pro day. He might go higher than that now.
I
Who
no
knows?
longer see Avion Terrell as a first round player. A guy who
Mhm.
I really like. But his injury concerns, he had a hamstring issue going into his pro day. Literally the first drill of his pro day, he messed up his hamstring again. I think there's going to be some questions about him. I don't see him going in the first round anymore. I would have
Mhm.
originally said probably Avion Terrell there to Minnesota. But like I said, they could also go edge rusher. They could go a lot of ways there. Because I think one position that they also need defensive tackle, and it's very intriguing to see what will happen with this defensive tackle room because I only think maybe one of those guys, maybe two, goes in the first round.
Mhm.
I think Caden McDonald's probably a first round pick.
Mhm.
You could argue Peter
Late,
Woods
yeah.
should be still. I know that there's a lot of questions about Peter Woods. The way he played last year at Clemson, it wasn't as good, but his 2024 tape is still spectacular tape to watch. He could still be a first round pick too. I don't see Lee Hunter going in the first round anymore, although I do like Lee Hunter a lot. Christian Miller's a sneaky guy from Georgia. Caleb Banks, if he didn't have the injury issues, would still be a first round pick, but he'll probably be more of a midday two guy who has a lot of upside if he can just be healthy. Um, that position I think is going to be not really in the first round. We'll see a lot, and that's the thing. What positions are going to drop? Because do we have a run on wide receivers early? Do we have a run on those edge rushers, which we expect? I think we will legitimately see 7 or 8 edge rushers taken in the first round.
Mhm.
I do. Because you have your David Baileys, your Arvell Reese, if you want to pin him as an edge, which I think most people will at this point. Ruben Bain. And then you have other guys like Zion Young from Missouri, who I think is going to go earlier than anticipated. Of course, you're going to have your Keldrick Falks from Auburn. I think he's going in the first round just because of how good he is against the run. TJ Parker from Clemson, I think, is going to go earlier as well just because of his 2024 tape at Clemson. I think that tape was good enough, and
Yeah.
it wasn't great last year, but as well, I think his 2024 tape was enough to make him be a first round pick. And then a guy like a Malachi Lawrence from UCF is a big time riser
Yep.
right now. Big time riser. I think he's more than likely, just depends. I think he's towards the back half of the first round, their late 20s, even into the early 30s. Might sneak into the second round, but I think he could be a first round pick. There's some other guys you could throw out there. There's always like 2 or 3 guys by the end of the first round we look back and we're like, huh, didn't see them being in the first round. There's some guys I circled there. I'm going to throw out some names. Gabe Akis, the Illinois defensive end. He will be in my top 50. I like him a lot. I think he's a very sneaky guy to watch. R. Mason Thomas as well at edge rusher from Oklahoma. He's not good at all against the run, but that man can get after the quarterback. He was one of the better defensive linemen in the country this past season at Oklahoma. A big reason why Oklahoma's defense was as good as it was. He could be a sneaky first-round pick. And of course, there always seems to be a second running back that goes in the first round for no reason.
Yep.
None of the other running backs outside of Jeremiah Love should be a first-round pick, in my opinion. Although I think a team like Denver or Seattle, who could use another running back now, maybe takes a guy. I'm not as high on Jadarian Price as others are. I know what he can do in special teams, but I'm not that high on him as a true down and down running back. I like the Arkansas kid, Mike Washington Jr., more. He could be a first rounder. If not, I still see him as a second round pick. But those are just some guys I'm circling as, okay, maybe, just maybe, first round picks.
Like I said, it's with draft season, nobody knows anything.
Right.
Well, some dude out of left field will come.
Who knows? Cole Strange might be.
Maybe, exactly.
Maybe the Tyron Montgomery kid from John Carroll is a first round wide receiver.
That's right.
Maybe the Southeast Louisiana defensive tackle Caleb Proctor, first rounder. I'm just saying, go watch his LSU tape, dude. Caleb Proctor's going on day 2, in my opinion. I think that kid from Southeast Louisiana will be a day 2 pick. I want to talk about our love affair we have with Ruben Bain Jr. just a little bit. Because you and I both believe he's the best edge rusher in this class. You know?
I believe he's the best player in the class.
He easily could be the best player in the class. I guess we'll have to see next week. If he is or not. What team is the best fit for this kid? I don't know.
Anywhere.
I'm trying to pinpoint where he's actually going to be drafted. He's the one guy, simply because of all the smoke around him with the arm length and everything. I've seen some people still mock him as second overall to the Jets.
He should go the Raiders should pass on Mendoza and take him at 1. And then you can have Max Crosby and Ruben Bain. Just absolute mayhem on that D line.
I wouldn't be upset with
Kirko Cousins can just try to score 14 points a game.
Wouldn't that be something? We come to draft night, you see the little yellow sticky note on Mark Davis's desk that says Ruben Bain no matter what. I genuinely don't know where to mock him, though. That's the issue, because
with the Jets would make sense. 3, 4, 5, anywhere.
No,
1 through 32. Every team could use an edge rusher of his caliber.
I agree. I think he should be really in the conversation more for the Jets.
He sucks. He should fall to 17.
He should fall to 17. That's fair. That's fair, man. I get it. I do.
Yeah. Short arms and stuff.
Short arms.
That
exactly.
knocks you down a lot.
It does. I mean, it's under 31 inches. It's not, typically anything under 32 inches they consider smaller arms. So him being under 31.
Damn.
I know. It's unfortunate, right?
I don't know what I don't know what I got here. I think I could. I think I might be like Ruben Bain.
I think I make Ruben Bain probably look massive with my arm length. I do think he should be more in consideration for the Jets at 2. I honestly do think 3 or 4 would make sense. If he falls, like some people are saying, he's not getting past the Cowboys at 12. I think that's his absolute floor.
Mm-hmm.
I really like the Commanders and I like the Saints for possible fits if he's there at 7 or 8. Who knows? I don't see the Giants. Giants are not going edge. If they go defensive player, it's probably Sonny Styles or Caleb Downs.
It would never happen. But I got to tell you, if he went to the Browns, your guys' defensive line would be unstoppable. And it won't happen. You guys have way too many other needs. And the thing is,
what if we trade Myles Garrett, though? With everything that they did with the contract situation.
I'm not doing this again. I'm not doing this whole dog and pony show. He's not getting traded. You guys.
He's not. I agree. But
he might as well have his own show on Showtime or like his own sitcom on like HBO. Because like every single season, it's poor me, making $40 million. You chose to do that, Miles. You went out there and you burnt Cleveland to the ground by going out and saying, I'm requesting a trade. It's because I can't win a Super Bowl here. And he said, yeah, actually, they're paying me a ton of money. We're fine. if you guys do end up trading Myles Garrett, Ruben Bain has to be the pick if he's there.
Yes.
Or maybe David Bailey if they like him. I'm not a big David Bailey guy, but if they do, albeit. But like, dude, that D line would be unbelievable with Mason Graham, Myles Garrett, and
It
Ruben
would be
Bain
nuts.
Jr.
It would be real nuts.
Yeah.
I do real quick before we get into our other discussion. It's not really that long. That one won't be that long. The real reason why I think you and I are both a little more reserved on David Bailey is, to be fair, he's a lot more productive than Tyree Wilson ever was at Texas Tech.
He
Let's get
is.
that out the way.
He is 100%.
Way more productive.
But the Big 12 got,
It's not just playing against the Big 12. It's honestly not even that. I think it's more just his actual technique. He doesn't have a lot of bend. He tries to beat guys with speed. And when he actually has to use his pass rush moves, he doesn't have a lot there. He doesn't have a lot there.
Yep.
He does have strength. He doesn't have a lot of moves. And that's the thing. He doesn't have a lot of bend either. And that's the
No.
big reason why I think you and I really like Bain a lot, is the fact that
He has a ton of it.
He has like the truest form of like a real technician of a
Edge rush.
defensive end, as a real edge
Yeah.
rusher, yes. And
Beautiful.
Bailey is more of he's giving an off-ball player a little more. He's going to have to be a stand-up edge rusher. He's not going to be putting his foot on, or hand in the dirt. He's not putting his hand in the dirt to get past the tackle. He just isn't.
Yeah.
Him and Arvell Reese, I think, are a little overrated. A little bit. And it's not by a lot. I'm not saying
I think Reese is more overrated than Bailey.
I think so too. I think Reese is more overrated just because it's more, okay, what do we see 3-4 years from now? Well,
People are wanting him to be like Micah Parsons. He's not Micah Parsons. People are wanting him to be this off-ball linebacker that he can rush the edge, he can get around the edge, tackle the quarterback, sack him, and then also drop back into coverage. Dude, he did nothing after the first half of the season. He had a Linsanity run, and while I do think he's a good player, I'm not taking anything away from him. He's a very good player. If I'm taking a linebacker this high in the draft, he needs to be sure thing. I need him to be like, okay, this is my linebacker for the next decade.
And that's Sonny
He's
Styles.
going to be a stud. And Sonny Styles is what I texted you this. Sonny Styles is what people want Arvell Reese to be.
Yes.
It's ridiculous. And Sonny Styles will get drafted higher than Arvell. He should. And if he doesn't, then some team's going to be very lucky to get him.
Sonny Styles, I get some people want to kind of pause about the Fred Warner talk around Sonny Styles. He is the best linebacker prospect we've seen in a long time. He just is. And I know that some people don't want to rank him that high just because of position. Sonny Styles is that dude. And it wasn't just the combine. I think a lot of people needed to go back and actually watch his tape.
Watch Ohio State game.
Watch
his
tape.
Any Ohio State game. If you watch first half game, you're going to see Arvell, but you're going to see Sonny Styles doing the same damn thing. He's more of a coverage linebacker. But he does it so well. And he was the linchpin of that defense for the Ohio State. He was the leader. Him and Downs were the leaders of that defense.
Yes. Wasn't even an argument. In fact, I'm going to be very bold and say this right now. I think Caden McDonald is actually a better draft prospect than Arvell Reese, in my opinion. Because I think
McDonald was one of the best interior defensive linemen in the nation last year. Yeah, I mean.
And the thing is, I know the argument about McDonald is the fact that, is he really going to be down there on third down? I mean, I know, he's probably not. But he's a great run-stuffing defensive tackle who I think has been overshadowed by some of the other guys on the team. Caden McDonald's massive. He's better than Tyleik Williams, in my opinion. Yeah. I think he's a much better defensive tackle than Tyleik Williams. I think he has a lot more to his game than Williams did.
He needs to relax with the eye paint, though. I mean,
I will say this. I think
covers his entire face with the eye paint.
This isn't even like I know that we're Ohio State fans. Some people might say it's a little bit biased. I think McDonald's the best defensive tackle. I don't think it's that close. in this draft class. I think he is just that good and that different than the rest of the guys in this class. I think he's top 15 prospect. I think he's a
He
top
won't go
15
top
guy. He
15.
won't go
I don't.
top 15. He'll probably go, if he goes in the first round, he'll probably be early 20s. I could see like the Chargers needing a defensive tackle. Panthers, if they wanted to add a guy next to Derek Brown, but they could also go wide receiver or tight end and add something to their offense, which wouldn't shock me. They don't need an edge rusher anymore, really, because they have Phillips and Scorton. But nice. I could see
30,
Houston
$30
maybe at
million.
28, but Houston loves to trade back every draft. That's the issue I have with Houston, because they could go offensive line, they could go defensive tackle, but they could also get their guy probably by trading back and have 2 early picks in the 30s, because I'm pretty certain they have pick number 38 if I'm not mistaken as well. So they've got some guys they could get still in the second round, and they love picking in the second round. So I could see them trading back from pick number 28.
Yeah.
It'll be intriguing, specifically with those defensive tackles, because, like I said, there's a world where none of them go in the first round.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll have to see.
So
But,
how many Buckeyes get taken in the first round before we move on?
well, I think you'll have,
Because Arvell, Sonny Styles, Carnell Tate, Caleb Downs, Caden McDonald.
I think 5 realistically are going in the first round.
Yeah.
4 if McDonald doesn't, because those
Yeah.
other 4 are clearly going. Those 4 are locks in the first round.
Yes. Yes.
McDonald, yes. I think he's the only real other option who
he's
could
the
go
only
in the first round. There's a sneaky guy who I think could go in the second round.
Igbinosun.
Yes, I'm actually so
Really?
serious.
You're Iggy?
Davison Igbinosun could be a
See,
second round pick, depending on what people think about
I
him
don't.
and how he
I
played.
always
I thought
had
he was.
such mixed feelings about him
I thought he
because
was much
the
better
problem
this
was he
past
was
season.
a good coverage. He was a good coverage corner, but man, he was too handsy. He got way too many calls again, like PI calls.
Hear me out
so
on this.
infuriating.
I don't know if he goes to this team. It would be an arch rival of yours. Doesn't he look like a Packers corner?
He probably will, and he'll probably go out and flourish, and
He
he'll
looks
probably
like a
be an
Packers
all-pro.
corner to me. Like I can't remember where the Packers pick in the second round. I think they're like late 50s or something. I'd have to look at the draft board again. I could see him going in the second round. Don't be shocked if he's a second round pick or an early not early day 3, early third round pick. I think he's going on day 2.
Yeah.
Just because of him being a good piece on a national championship defense and one of the best defenses in the country. I think that sometimes gets guys to go a little bit earlier than what people might think.
Mm-hmm.
So I think Igbinosun's going to be at least a day 2 guy for sure. Max Clare could be a day 2 guy as well.
Yeah.
I don't see anybody else really being day 2. I'm not that high on Caden Curry personally. I don't think Caden Curry is a top 100 guy. I think other edge rushers are still much better than him. Who knows? Well, we'll see. We'll see with those Ohio State guys. Let's pivot to next year. Way too early. Way too early to talk about next year, okay? But next year's draft class is already, historical in a sense of you've got a Manning. You've got the offspring of Mannings being ready to get drafted here. There's always a guy. There's always a quarterback, it feels like. Of course, we talked a little bit off air here. With the exception of course, you have your Caleb Williamses, you have your Trevor Lawrences, your Andrew Luck years, where you just know the guy is going number 1 overall. But you look at this past season, no one saw Fernando Mendoza going this high. And even then, you could even look back at 2024 with the Caleb Williams year. I don't think anyone saw Jaden Daniels being a top 2 pick before the season had started. You can look, no one saw Baker Mayfield going number 1 to Cleveland. Everyone thought it was Sam Darnold. Who is that quarterback this year in college football that we need to circle?
So you want me to say a quarterback? You don't want me to say who the number 1 prospect is?
I want you to say quarterback.
Quarterback?
We can talk number 1 overall prospect too, but quarterback in particular. Who is
like
that
a guy that nobody is talking about?
A guy that nobody is talking about right now to be a first round guy, goes out, plays well, and is wait a second, this dude's one of the best quarterbacks in this draft class, and he's going early. And to be fair, I do think on paper this draft class is already filled with that. You have your Dante Moores, you have your
Yeah,
Julian Sayans, Arch
you
Mannings.
have so many quarterbacks in the first
You have
round.
so many, but there's definitely one no one's talking about right now and is going to go out there and ball out next season and is going to completely jump through. And everyone's like, why weren't we talking about this guy right now? Who is he? Putting you on the spot here.
I know you like Byron Brown from Auburn,
I
from
do, but when it
USF.
comes to the NFL, I don't know how I feel about him as much. College wise,
Does
absolutely.
Josh Hoover count?
I'd say Josh Hoover would count. Yeah.
Okay, then I'll go with Josh Hoover just because of Signetti, just because of what he did for Fernando Mendoza. I'll just say Josh Hoover. But
Okay.
the problem is like this draft class, the amount of quarterbacks is insane.
Jaden Mayava didn't even
Trinidad
say
Chambliss is
Chambliss.
now going to be in next year's draft class,
Yep.
and if he does anything like he did last year, he'll be a first round pick.
Yeah.
I mean, the amount of quarterbacks next year is going to be nuts. The number one prospect is Jeremiah Smith, and I will not hear a single word about anything else. If Jeremiah Smith is, depending on the team, I don't care. Jeremiah Smith should be the number one pick next year. I've never seen a wide receiver of his caliber, of his stature, of technique, everything. He's everything to this Ohio State offense. And he better be. He's not going to be the number one pick because it's going to be a team that needs a quarterback, but it should be. But as for quarterbacks wise, my favorite quarterback next year will probably end up being Dante Moore. I think Dante Moore is going to have an unbelievable year with Oregon next year. Arch Manning looked better, but I need to see it because he had a really roller coaster of a season last year. Obviously Julian Sand, I love the guy, but he has to perform much better than what he did against the last two games of the season when he's playing elite teams, and he's going to play a lot of them next year. He needs to perform better. He needs to read the defense better, and he needs to make a few more throws than what he did.
Yeah.
He got very shaky. He got very in his head once things started going wrong, and he needs to learn to just calm down. But I'll say Josh Hoover just because the Signetti system. I think anybody will flourish in Signetti's offense, and they added a bunch of weapons with Nick Marsh coming in from Michigan State, that kid from Boston College, the running back. I think that they're going to have a ton of weapons next year, and Indiana is going to be very good again. So
That's fair.
I'll say Hoover. It's not like a out of nowhere pull, but it's like, even last year, no one would have said Fernando Mendoza, who
Nobody.
had 16 touchdowns and 6 picks in 1 year or in his second year at Cal. It's hard to say, but I'll say Hoover just because of the system, because it worked for Mendoza. I'm sure it'll probably work for Hoover. He's a play action quarterback, and
Their RPOs, their run pass option system, TCU ran it second most, Indiana ran it most. So he's going into a system that pretty much already works for him.
Yep.
There's two guys that come to mind for me. And I will say I don't think either of them are like big stretches. Like when I'm thinking about it, like I could see a world where these two could do this. Not where like, Fernando Mendoza in Indiana came out of nowhere. Mendoza's now the number one pick, or Jaden Daniels kind of came out of nowhere and had a Heisman season.
Yeah.
I think that there's a world where these two, I think others could see this. One is Darian Mensah at Miami. I think Darian Mensah has a lot, probably the best possible situation that Miami's had from a roster standpoint next season, even more than this past year, specifically offensively. Yeah, they're losing Maui Noah on the offensive line, but the way Cristobal recruits, and specifically with his offensive line background, I expect that offensive line to continue to be very good. Of course, you have Malachi Tony returning. You have the entire running game returning for Miami. I think Mensa is set up to absolutely flourish, and I like his Duke tape. I think he's a very good quarterback. I think, and even if you go back to Tulane,
34 tutties, 6 interceptions,
and
something like that.
If you go back to Tulane's tape, it was still pretty good too. I think Mensa has
like 4,000 yards.
Yeah. I think Mensa has a legit chance to possibly jump into top 3, top 4 quarterback discussions when it's all said and done.
He won the ACC at Duke.
Exactly.
Football.
Exactly.
Even if it was a weird way he did it, but yeah.
The other guy is a guy who I've already been high on in the past anyway. I know you kind of like, but of course, this offseason was a little shaky when it came to certain things because he decided to hit the portal probably at a
Mm,
very inappropriate time up there at Washington and then said, oh, I'll just go back. Damon Williams. If Damon Williams can just absolutely turn the narrative on its head this season, go out there and carry Washington pretty far, they have the possibility to do so.
yeah,
Um, could they also fall flat on their face? Absolutely. They're kind of a boomer bust team for me this year because I think Washington could take a massive jump. I also think they could, because of everything. Who knows? Maybe they're around the same, 7-5 or worse. We
yeah.
don't know. But I think Damon Williams, to me, he's the guy I'm circling because I think he has a lot of talent.
It's fair. Yeah, he really does. He just got caught up in all that stuff, that legal stuff.
Yes.
But so did Mensa. I
Mensa
mean,
did the same thing, actually. Yeah,
Mensa,
both my guys did.
Mensa signed a contract saying he was going to go back to Duke, and then said, "Yeah, Miami's offering me $10 million. I'm not going back to Duke."
See,
You can get away with anything in college football today. So.
you really can. And I think that's just kind of just shows where we're at right now, where there's no governance.
Nope.
And I'm not saying guys shouldn't get paid. I'm not saying any of that. I just think there just needs
There
to be
should be a
structure.
certain way about doing it, though.
Certain way and certain structure that just is not there right now in the sport. And that's all it is. Spencer, final thoughts. Final thoughts
About the draft or like what?
about it all. No, about draft, yeah.
Um, Jeremiah Smith should be the number one prospect next year, and it's not close. He's the best wide receiver prospect since Julio Jones. And yeah, as for this year, my bold take, Mendoza is going to have a bad rookie year.
That's bold. That's real bold, man.
I'm not really buying into Mendoza, to be completely honest, in the NFL. This whole we're flipping awesome, man. Stick. I don't know. Who knows? Kirko could take his job by week 3.
Kirko's going to have the job, and then Mendoza's going to take it by week 3.
They'll start Mendoza.
They won't start Mendoza. They will not
Yes,
start Mendoza.
What do you mean they're starting Kirk Cousins? No, they're not.
They're starting Kirk
drafting a
Cousins.
quarterback number 1 overall. What do you mean they're going to have him sit on the bench?
They're totally going to have him sit on the bench for like the first month.
No, they're not.
Maybe.
Why would they do that? Why would they do that?
Why? Well, you got to have a guy develop a little bit, right? I know it never happens anymore because we're in a world where
training camp. He can develop. He can learn under Kirko.
We are in a world.
Is terrible. Did you see him last year? He was awful.
I saw him get a bag. I saw him continuously get paid.
Schedule, just signed Tyler Linderbaum. You're going to go Tyler Linderbaum and say, yeah, Kirk Cousins is your quarterback. Yeah, right. Oh, no. No, it's going to be Mendoza, 100%. You draft a quarterback number 1, you're starting him. Simple as that.
It's a good point. We'll see. We'll see, because, I mean, you're giving Kirko Cousins all the money in the world because his agent is amazing. To be fair, that
$1 year, $20 million deal.
Yes, it was 1 year, $20 million. It's not what everyone reported. Like Adam Schefter, you didn't need to add the 5 years, $172 million part of that.
When I first started reading that, I was like, wait, what?
You gotta do the research. It's not. I mean, Atlanta's paying the contract mostly, so it's mostly Atlanta's money. It's just the perfect quarterback to
Atlanta, who revealed their jerseys today, which are actually pretty nice. I like them. I like them a lot more than the old ones.
They're a lot better. I wish they still would have got rid of the silver face mask, in my opinion. I just think all black is better. But that's just my take. Did we talk about Tennessee's new jerseys too? Last time, it's been a couple weeks now since those are fantastic.
I thought we did, yeah.
We might have.
I thought we talked about the logo.
That's right, we did talk about that. But we do have the Ravens releasing a new uniform coming up, and the Rams as well. We have those to look forward to. Peak draft season is upon us. Smoke and mirrors. That is April, and that is what this is. My final thoughts on the draft, specifically for 2027, I think a name you could look for in the top 5 prospects, Dylan Stewart, the South Carolina edge rusher. I think he's a guy to circle looking ahead for 2027.
I would also, teams are going to be tanking for the quarterback. Teams might be tanking for Colin Simmons next year.
Simmons too. Colin Simmons and Dylan Stewart are both nasty nasty
Yep.
defensive linemen. Those are the two best, I think, going into next year. Obviously, that can change, but those are two names to look for. And then this year, my final thoughts, because Lord only knows we'll continue to talk about this. At least for today, my final thoughts are, where the heck does Kenyon Sadiq go? I have no idea, because no one seems to be able to pinpoint where he'll go because he's a tight end. Some have him in the late 20s, early 30s. I still think he's probably in the top 15, top 20 just because of how athletically gifted he is.
I mean, a lot of teams have a lot bigger needs than tight end. That's the problem.
That's the problem. But I
Um,
think there's going to be a team like a Carolina Panthers at 19, like Tampa Bay at 15, possibly. I could see the Rams at 13.
how high could he go? What's the highest he could go?
I think Rams at 13 is probably the highest he would go.
Oh, the Rams taking another tight end?
I think, yes.
Oh, they have like 4.
It doesn't hurt to have a fifth. Doesn't hurt to have a fifth. But that, I mean, they like athletes. You know what I mean? So I could see a Kenyon Sadiq at 13 being the highest. Because, I mean, the Cowboys don't really need a tight end. No one else really in the top 12
The
needs a
Bengals
tight
should
end.
just say screw their defense and draft Kenyon Sadiq at 10.
That would be kind of funny, would it not? I think it'd be worth it, honestly.
Yeah, hell, they'd have some really good weapons, but then you'd have, Joe Blow playing corner and
I'm circling the
and
NFC.
G backup playing linebacker for the Bengals.
I'm circling the NFC South in particular for Sadiq at Tampa Bay, Carolina. And then also, I mean, other teams potentially in the 20s, later 20s, I would say.
Will Kyle Pitts get 1,000 yards next year? Let's discuss.
The world may never know. That's going to wrap up this episode here, episode 27 of the Scoop and Score Football Show. Make sure before you leave, subscribe to the channel, hit the push notification bell to stay up to date on all new videos. Like our short content, okay?
Yep.
Share our short content to everybody you know. Go follow us on our social media pages as well, at Ball N Beatz Media, Instagram, TikTok, X, and go follow Spencer on his personal Instagram and DM him specifically hate mail about the Detroit Lions, please. He would really love it. We'll see you guys next week. We'll see you guys next week. Take care. Peace out.
Peace.